Oh boy, well that's what we're headed for.
No.
I tell you, the UN is the architect of the global warming fraud. The UN is the one that keeps pushing these globalist ideas. They had a big love fest here the other day. Obama went and spoke at the UN about globalism. He says, we need more globalism. We have to give up a little bit of our freedom to make it a safer world. That's what the man said. You should look it up online. He's advocating the very thing that the Founding Fathers warned against. Don't give up your freedom for more security, because if you do, you won't have either. And the UN is cheerfully pushing that, and not eating meat, eating bugs, global control, one treaty after another. This Paris Climate Treaty, that's their handiwork. The UN is the biggest single institutional problem the world has. It needs to be pruned back to get rid of these crazy ideas about globalism. People need to run their own communities. They need to run their own lives. They need to be responsible for themselves, because the Canadian or U.S. federal governments, they're not going to do a thing for you. The UN sure as hell isn't going to do anything for people that are affected by coming bitterly cold days, crop failures, and floods and storms. I mean, you got to do it yourself.
What's that going to do for hunting licenses? And people, if they're in a pinch and they really have no food, they're going to go shoot an animal illegally. And then how's that going to come on with, a law-abiding citizen, throughout their entire lives they've been law-abiding citizens, but now they're pushed into a corner. And when people are pushed into a corner, they behave a little bit differently. So what are the federal authorities or local park rangers going to come and arrest them for trying to hunt for food because their family's starving? This opens a whole Pandora's box of problems with all the regulations, and with no government help coming, I can see we're kind of on our own, and that's why my channel, I keep pushing. We need to work together because we are out of time. It's already started. And, taking a trip back in history in the time machine here, what happened in the 1640s, 50s, and 60s, and the 1800s as well, the 1840s.
One of the things that makes me the saddest is that these people have succeeded in dividing us along political lines. Typically, people that are persuaded to the left of the spectrum believe all this stuff about global warming and more rules are good and all that. And the people on the right side of the spectrum believe in less government. They believe that it's not going to be, there's not any global warming. But we end up fighting each other. I have a Facebook page where issues about this global cooling are discussed.
Can you tell us what your Facebook page is so anybody listening can jump on there and take a look at it?
Yeah, it's A New Little Ice Age Has Started. Same title as the book. A New Little Ice Age Has Started. Anyway, I get trolls on a regular basis that come along. You can always tell by the way they write if they're trolls. But they always spew the same sort of nonsensical stuff. The left wing is totally invested in this religion. And that's a shame. We should have therapy sessions for people where we can all sit down together and say, look, these are the facts. How does this affect us if we're Democrats or Republicans, if we're liberals or conservatives? How does it affect us, and what is our government doing about it? We need to get beyond the religion of global warming and get back to science. I mean, science has been so perverted over the last 25 years, I don't know if scientists can even figure out what's right anymore. I wish they would speak up. There's so many good, solid people out there. They just, I had a hell of a time getting any hardcore scientists to review my book. I finally did get a couple, but mostly the guys that are still working won't touch it because the money flow from government depends on them towing the party line. Well, they're taking us right down the toilet.
They always talk so much about the science is settled, and just about a week ago, 7 days ago, a new article came out, peer-reviewed, talking about how the Pacific Ocean water temperatures in the Pacific Decadal Oscillation actually regulate the temperatures in the lower troposphere. And this is just brand new data that's out, and there's a direct relationship between Pacific Ocean warming and lower troposphere temperatures. And if this is all brand new, then the science is not settled by any way, shape, or form, and we need to continually keep looking at that. That's a brand new part of the ocean model that they haven't been looking at, as well as they were so unable to explain why the Antarctic ice sheet was not melting and the actual density of ice on Antarctica, actually on the continent itself, was growing, and they were at a loss, and then suddenly they come out and said that they forgot to take a look and add in ocean circulation models, that there was an upwelling from deep under at 6,000 feet that brought cold water up, which nullified and negated the CO2 warming, and that's why it was happening. There's really CO2 down there, but the cold upwelling water from the ocean circulation currents is putting it at bay right now. And I'm thinking to myself, you forgot an ocean circulation pattern literally on a fifth of our planet into your models, and now Pacific Ocean water temperatures affecting the troposphere, and that's not in there either, and they're trying to tell you out to 3,000 years in the future what the climate's going to be. Oh, it's madness.
It's a gong show. But here's the ultimate gong show. The very concept that science would be settled is completely contrary to the scientific method. The scientific method says, okay, we all believe Einstein, we all believe in the speed of light and all that stuff, but there's no harm in trying to disprove it. That's the scientific method. Nothing is ever settled science, because things have been overturned 100 years after they were declared to be settled. So if you stop looking for the truth, you're sure as hell never going to find it.
Anybody trying to shout you down saying, there's no such thing smaller than an atom, nobody argues with you about that. Even if you're trying to prove that, you're going down into quantum physics, that there's something smaller in a base of all matter across the universe, in time and space. Nobody argues with you about that. It says research all you want, have all your own opinions, conjecture, debate that. But the minute you come back into the climate debate, everything else is okay to talk about, and like you said, look for a better way, a different method, disprove, prove, whatever you're doing in science, except this climate debate. Everything else is open, but climate's closed for some reason.
Yeah, it's a religion. It's become a religion. I don't know why. Maybe we need to have a religion in our societies. Maybe this is something we need. The inventor of the Gaia theory, a fellow named Lovelock, he's the guy who said, oh, well, the planet is really a living organism, and we have to be careful how we treat it. He just recently popped up and said, I was sort of misinterpreted. The global warming religion is nonsense. It's not appropriate. It's not a living thing. I was wrong. I made a mistake. But, he doesn't get the publicity now that he did when he was talking about Mother Gaia and that whole Gaia theory. But he's saying it. He's saying, look, this business with global warming being a religion is nonsense. I think it was James Lovelock. Does that name sound familiar?
Sounds familiar, yes, but I can't peg it on anything.
Anyway, I did a piece on my Facebook page. I'd probably report 10 to 15 news articles or weather-related articles a day. So it's interesting reading. There's about 16,000 people following the page. I try to make it relevant and interesting, and I try to alert people to what is actually happening. I go and speak about my book, too, and there's always somebody in the crowd that says, how could you possibly be right? 97% of scientists say blah, blah, blah. Well, that has got to be one of the biggest pieces of propaganda ever put out. As a matter of fact, Richard Lindzen, who's one of the most senior climate scientists, real climate scientists at MIT, said that 97% was just propaganda. It was a poorly formed study. It was not statistically accurate, but it has, again, formed the basis just like Michael Mann, the climate fraudster, and his hockey stick. That was in vogue for a long time. The religion goes around, they pick up these disciples like Michael Mann or Mr. Cook, the author of this 97% nonsense. These are their disciples and their saviors for a while, and they continue to flog their faulty ideas until people say, well, that's not true, that's just not right, and science proves they're not right. But then, it's already in the public consciousness. So you got to fight it every day.
So I need to add in another name there with you, Peter Wadhams. He's the one who keeps saying the ice is going to melt into infinity. And then back in 2007, he said there would be no ice by 2013, and that didn't happen, and they keep moving it back. But he's at a prestigious university in the UK, so they keep publishing him. And then he said there would be less than 1 million square kilometers of ice this year, but it actually reached the low 0.4 million kilometers, 4.4 million. And it's actually skyrocketed. This is the all-time record recovery of ice off the low melt season ever recorded since the satellite data era began. And they always love to use that. Since the satellite era. You know what? Well, now we have a brand new record of ice recovery in the Arctic. And then Peter Wadhams keeps coming back. Oh, now it's going to be 2018 and all the ice will melt. Oh, it'll be 2020. Yeah, and you're right. I hope that the ice is going to come so fast and so heavy that people like this just get swept aside on the tidal wave of truth that comes through.